This isn't a campaign. This isn't an RNC. I'm not out on the political campaign. I didn't get none of that 1.5.
First of all, Nelly, congratulations for that 1.5 million you got for that show.
Does Nelly come back to St. Louis and visit?
Come on, man. He always say, look, only at the casino. That's where he lose all his money at. But then he go down on the dub and get his coat.
You're not hallucinating. That was actually DL Hughley clowning Nelly for allegedly blowing bags at the casino right after pocketing a cool $1.5 million. Yeah, you heard that right. The man who once had Hot in Hera burning up the charts is now trending for allegedly being hot in debt. This whole mess started when Nelly decided to perform at Donald Trump's Liberty Inaugural Ball in January 2025. Yes, that Trump. And the internet has been in full meltdown ever since. Because when a hip-hop legend who once distanced himself from Trump suddenly starts performing at his celebration party, people start asking, what happened to the Nelly we used to know? It's like watching your favorite childhood rapper suddenly pop up at a political rally and act like it's just another tour stop. Fans weren't mad at the music. They were mad at the message, especially when the event's lineup looked more like a country music awards afterparty than a hip-hop show. So, when Nelly stepped on that stage, people were like, no way, not Cornell Haynes Jr., and that's when DL Hughley came in swinging. The outspoken comedian didn't just throw shade, he brought the whole umbrella. DL basically accused Nelly of being broke, desperate, and dancing for dollars at a Trump event on Martin Luther King Jr. Day of all days. The irony? Painfully loud. Because let's rewind. This is the same Nelly who once publicly said he didn't support Trump, the same guy who said politics wasn't his thing. So when he popped up smiling next to MAGA hats and white wine spritzers, social media collectively yelled, "Bro, what are you doing here?" TikTok edits started flying. Memes called him Nelly MAGA Graham. Reddit threads had headlines like, Nelly went from hot in Hera to cold for the culture. Fans felt betrayed, not just because of politics, but because it felt like a sellout moment from someone who used to represent authenticity, swagger, and that proud St. Louis grind. But here's where it gets even messier. DL Hughley wasn't just talking trash. He was hinting that this might have been about something way deeper, something with a price tag attached. Because if the rumors are true, that $1.5 million performance fee might have been more of a lifeline than a luxury. You see where this is going, right? The fans, the headlines, the casino gossip, it all connects. But that's not even the wild part. Wait till you hear what DL said next, because that's where the entire internet exploded.
Nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the fuck one of you.
The internet didn't just go crazy, it detonated. Within minutes, clips of Nelly on that Liberty inaugural stage were everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, even Facebook aunties had opinions. It felt like one of those "we're living in a simulation" moments. Nelly, the guy who gave us Air Force Ones, now performing for the man who probably thinks Air Force Ones are a new branch of the military. This wasn't just some random gig. It was a cultural earthquake. Think about it. One of hip-hop's most beloved artists sharing a stage with the most polarizing figure in modern politics. And on Martin Luther King Jr. Day? That's not irony, that's cinematic timing. People were stunned. Fans flooded the comments. Greater than, ain't no way this man went from EI to MAGA. Nelly performing for Trump is like Snoop Dogg doing a cooking show with the IRS. It didn't matter how clean the performance looked, or how loud the applause was. The internet had already decided this was a betrayal, because this wasn't the Nelly they grew up blasting in middle school. This was corporate, polished, borderline propaganda Nelly. And to make it worse, the whole thing looked like a meme come to life. The lighting, the confetti, the awkward dance moves. People said it felt like a deleted scene from White House Idol. Even CNN ran a headline that basically said, Nelly performs for Trump. Fans not happy. But the real chaos wasn't just online. It was in the comment sections where fans were fighting each other. Half were screaming sellout, and the other half were like, he's just getting a bag, let that man eat. It became bigger than Nelly. It became a full-blown culture war, music, politics, and money colliding in real time. And right in the middle of it all was DL Hughley, ready to throw gasoline on the fire. Because when DL spoke out, he didn't just question the performance. He exposed something that made people think this was about more than just music. Here's where everything explodes.
Ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo ass niggas gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the fuck one of you Uncle Tom for doing it. Which one of you gonna do it first? I was the one that performs for himself.
And that's when the bomb dropped. DL Hughley didn't just comment, he detonated the entire debate. His Instagram post was so blunt it could have cracked concrete. That's what we doing now? That single line echoed through timelines like a gunshot. People already side-eyeing Nelly suddenly had ammunition. DL wasn't playing safe. He went full truth serum mode. He called Trump what he's always called him, a man who's built a career off dividing people and then acting shocked when folks notice. And to drop that on Martin Luther King Day? That was spiritual warfare. The comments section went feral. TikTok creators were stitching clips of DL with captions like, "When your uncle finally says it out loud." Reddit threads titled, "DL Hughley ended Nelly's political career in one post," climbed to the front page. It wasn't just the words, it was the tone. DL sounded like a disappointed older cousin who just found out you joined the other team. He reminded everyone of Trump's long track record, immigrant comments, birther conspiracies, the Daniel Penny praise, and basically said, if you're still cool with that, you're complicit. And while fans were screaming facts in the comments, others started whispering, was DL hinting at something deeper? Because buried in that post was a subtle jab, a suggestion that maybe Nelly's sudden pivot had less to do with politics and more to do with a paycheck. It was the kind of moment that divides timelines. You had Team Nelly defending art over politics, and Team DL demanding accountability. Meanwhile, Nelly stayed silent, letting his PR team post polished photos like nothing happened. But silence on the internet is gasoline. The longer he said nothing, the more people assumed guilt. And that's when DL dropped another post that made things spiral even faster. You're not ready for what he said
Nelly
next.
come back to St. Louis and visit?
Come on, man. He always said lose, but only at the casino. That's where he lose all his money at. And then he go down there on the dub and get his right? And he go over there on Shreve and get his perks. And then he go down there and get his exit. He be at all the dope spots just getting and shit. Well, not talking about, but he always get it on credit. Like, he still don't get no money for that. Like, everything he get off his love, off because he Nelly. That's what I'm up on, know these up yet. That's what I want. But he need to give me my 50 million. That's what I'm on. You saw he get caught with the XC, so you know I ain't cap. You saw that. Yeah, he go in St. Louis, get his little and go there and lose all his way to the casino. Right? That's what my 50 million at. My 50 million down there casino. Stop playing on me. Stop playing on me. Down, baby. Stop playing.
So Nelly spends all his money. Spent all his money. How are you gonna get your money from him if he's broke?
Casino. I want the Masters game. We don't get it. It ain't about the money. I want the Masters. I want what's mine. See, he ain't gonna be able to pay me. His card gonna decline. And when his card declines, the Masters is mine. Stop playing with me. I want the house. I want everything. I want Ashanti, gang. Ashanti look good on me. Stop playing with me. How you think Ashanti and his son look on me?
DL didn't just double down, he dug in. The man was surgical. On his podcast, sipping coffee like it was holy water, he said, "It amazes me how fast rappers turn Republican once the checks stop clearing." And that line broke the algorithm. TikTok lost its mind. X, was in full chaos mode. Screenshots, memes, edits. Fans were dragging Nelly through every comment section like it was a parade. But here's where it gets messy. People started whispering that DL wasn't being petty, he was being specific. Because right after that comment, a thread appeared online claiming Nelly was in some serious financial trouble. We're talking rumors of unpaid taxes, back payments, and a mysterious 7-figure debt, allegedly tied to a shady business deal. And then, someone dropped a screenshot claiming it wasn't just anyone he owed, it was Donald Trump himself. The internet collectively gasped, like, wait, what? The story spread faster than wildfire on Reddit. Users were quoting sources, saying Trump and Nelly crossed paths through a private investment group years ago. No one had proof, but that didn't matter. When the streets start talking, receipts become optional. By that night, hashtags like #NellyOwesTrump and #DL pulled receipts were trending. The conspiracy had officially turned cinematic. people started digging into old photos, resurfacing a 2015 image of Nelly at a Trump Tower event. Coincidence? Maybe. But timing? Suspicious. And that's when DL dropped one more line that turned rumor into wildfire. "Ain't no such thing as a free photo op, bruh." The comment section exploded. Fans were tagging TMZ, saying, "Somebody call the IRS." At that point, it wasn't just celebrity gossip, it was cultural warfare. Was DL exposing Nelly, or just trolling for clout? The lines between truth, rumor, and comedy were blurring fast, and the next 24 hours would decide who walked away clean.
Wait, that's not what I'm saying at all. That's why I'm not telling you who to vote for. But what I'm saying is that he's the president of the United States. He's not the candidate for the United States. He's the president. He won.
And just like that, boom, the calm before the storm shattered. 24 hours after the internet turned Nelly into a trending topic, his PR team finally responded. They released a clean, polished statement to Entertainment Tonight, saying the photo with Trump was taken out of context and that there was no ongoing business or financial relationship, but by then, it was too late. The narrative had already gone nuclear. Because when the internet smells blood, no press release can stop the feeding frenzy. People started pulling up clips of Nelly flashing luxury cars, jewelry, and cash over the years, and comparing that to DL's quote about rappers going Republican when the money runs out. The math wasn't mathing. Then DL went live again, and man, he cooked. He looked right into the camera and said, "Funny how broke people always say they rich, and rich people never gotta say a word." That was the nail in the coffin. Fans started calling DL the IRS with jokes. Others said he was just bitter that Nelly still had fame. But one thing everyone agreed on, he'd struck a nerve. At that point, the debate wasn't even about money or politics anymore. It was about loyalty. Can you still claim to represent the culture when you cozy up to the same man who mocked it for years? Or was Nelly just playing the game to stay relevant? Whatever side you were on, one thing was certain. This feud had become personal. Two legends, two generations, and one giant question mark hovering over St. Louis's biggest star. And just when fans thought it couldn't get messier, rumors started spreading that DL was about to drop receipts on his next podcast episode. Yeah, he said he had proof. So now the world's waiting. Will DL actually expose Nelly's $1 million debt to Trump? Or will this whole saga turn out to be another internet illusion? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. This story ain't over. It's crazy how one conversation can flip an entire career narrative upside down. What started as a simple talk show moment turned into a full-blown internet storm, the kind that eats reputations alive before breakfast. DL Hughley wasn't pulling punches, and when he dropped that line about Nelly and Trump, the culture stopped scrolling. Every outlet had the clip, every fan had an opinion, and by the next morning, social media was burning like gasoline on asphalt. The clip opened like any other conversation, lighthearted and casual, but there was something in DL's tone that said he wasn't here to play. He congratulated Nelly for the big check he'd just cashed, but then slipped in that sharp, surgical question. Does Nelly even come back to St. Louis anymore? It was subtle shade, the kind that stings harder because it sounds polite. Within hours, timelines lit up. Twitter threads dissected every word, Reddit had full-blown theories, and TikTok edits were looping DL's laugh with captions like, "When the shade's so smooth, you almost miss it." The internet could smell drama brewing. They knew a shot had been fired, and they were ready for the fallout. The thing about DL Hughley is, he's not just a comedian, he's an unfiltered truth machine. When he calls someone out, it's rarely random, and this time, he was circling Nelly like a shark that smelled old money and new problems. The rumors had been swirling for weeks, whispers of a strange $1 million connection between Nelly and Donald Trump, a photo that didn't sit right, and fans wondering if their hometown hero had switched sides. And DL, being DL, said what everyone else was thinking. He wasn't subtle about it either. He questioned why so many artists were cozying up to politicians they used to clown. He said it like it was, if Donald Trump really cared about black folks, he wouldn't have started his whole career by mocking the first black president. It wasn't just a roast, it was a cultural wake-up call. The more he talked, the deeper it cut. Every joke had a layer of truth beneath it. It wasn't just about politics, it was about authenticity. It was about loyalty to the people who made you. Fans started connecting dots, comparing timelines, and pulling up old footage of Nelly showing support in places that didn't make sense. It was getting messy fast, and nobody was backing down. Then came the receipts, screenshots, event photos, and that one picture that wouldn't go away. Nelly shaking Trump's hand like they were business partners. It didn't matter if it was old. It didn't matter if it was taken out of context. The internet doesn't do nuance. Once an image goes viral, it becomes the story. DL saw that and poured gasoline on it, calling out hypocrisy the way only he can. By the next morning, DL was trending on Twitter with fans saying he's the only one brave enough to say it out loud. Meanwhile, Nelly's fans were trying to do damage control, claiming it was just a friendly meet and greet, nothing more. But the more people defended him, the more the internet dug. And that's when DL hit the line that broke the timeline in half. Funny how broke people always say they rich, and rich people never got to say a word. It was quick, brutal, and unforgettable. People clipped it, looped it, and posted it everywhere. Memes started flying. One had Nelly holding a fake bank statement. Another had Trump counting imaginary bills. The chaos was unstoppable. But beneath all the jokes and memes, something deeper was happening. The internet started debating what it means for celebrities to switch up when things get tough. Is it about survival or selling out? Do they really believe what they preach? Or are they just saying whatever keeps the checks coming? It turned from gossip into a generational argument, one that blurred the line between culture, fame, and politics. Meanwhile, DL didn't back down once. He went live again, doubling down on every word. He said he wasn't trying to start a feud. He was just tired of the double standards. He reminded people that entertainers used to speak truth to power, not pose for photo ops with it. The comment section went wild. Half the audience was shouting facts. The other half was begging him to chill. Nelly stayed silent longer than fans expected, and that silence spoke volumes. His team finally stepped in, crafting a polished PR statement for the press. It said the viral photo was taken out of context and that there was no financial or business relationship between Nelly and Trump. Clean, safe, predictable. But the internet doesn't forgive predictability. The damage was already done. Because when you let the timeline tell your story before you do, you've already lost control of it. People weren't interested in explanations anymore. They wanted emotion, apology, or defiance. They wanted something real, but all they got was corporate calm. And that only made things worse. Clips of Nelly flashing cars, jewelry, and cash resurfaced like old ghosts. Fans started comparing them to DL's line about rappers going Republican when the money runs out. Every post became a side-by-side meme. One fan tweeted, "This is what it looks like when the flexing stops flexing back." Another joked, "Bro sold 10 million records and now owes Trump lunch money." For every fan defending Nelly, there were 5 more clowning him. It wasn't even about facts anymore. It was about perception, and perception moves faster than truth. DL understood that. That's why he kept talking, kept cracking jokes that hit harder than headlines. But there's another layer to this whole thing. What if this wasn't really about politics or money at all? What if it was about pride? 2 men from the same culture, both outspoken, both icons in their lane, but one unwilling to let the other forget where he came from. DL wasn't just clowning Nelly for entertainment, he was calling out a pattern. The pattern of artists drifting away from the people once they reach the top. It's a conversation older than hip-hop itself. Every generation has its version. The artist who changes, the comedian who sells out, the celebrity who forgets the streets that built them. And every time, fans act shocked like they haven't seen it before. But this time, the faces were too familiar. Nelly, the smooth-talking hitmaker from St. Louis, and DL, the sharp-tongued truth-teller from the kings of comedy. By this point, even people outside the hip-hop world were chiming in. Talk shows, entertainment blogs, and podcasts everywhere were debating who was right. Some said DL was just jealous. Others said he was doing what every real one should, holding the culture accountable. Either way, it was working. The story had evolved from gossip to debate to cultural moment. And that's where the real impact lies. Not in who's right, but in who defines the narrative. DL had turned a single statement into a national discussion about integrity. And whether people agreed with him or not, they were listening. Then came the twist nobody expected. Right when fans thought the drama was cooling off, DL dropped another bomb. He went on his podcast and hinted that he had proof, actual receipts, of the alleged debt and the connection people were whispering about. He didn't say what kind of proof, but he didn't have to. The internet filled in the blanks. Overnight, hashtags like #Nelly receipts and #DL exposed started trending. People were joking that the next episode of DL's show would break the internet. Memes of fake IRS letters and photoshopped screenshots started popping up faster than anyone could verify them. It was no longer about the truth, it was about who told the better story, and that's what makes this whole saga so fascinating. It's not just celebrity gossip, it's a mirror of the modern internet, where perception beats proof, where the loudest voice wins, and where one viral moment can rewrite a reputation. So now, all eyes are on DL's next move. Will he actually drop the receipts and prove everything he's been hinting at? Or will this all fade into another digital memory, just another headline in a year full of them? Whatever happens next, one thing's for sure, this isn't over. The lines between truth and performance have blurred too much. And whether you're Team DL or Team Nelly, this story reminds everyone that fame isn't just about music or money anymore. It's about control. Who tells the story, who shapes it, and who survives it. So what do you think? Was DL speaking truth to power, or just stirring the pot for clicks? Was Nelly misunderstood, or did he finally get called out for something fans didn't want to admit? Drop your thoughts below. I'm reading every single one. And don't go anywhere. Click the next video you see on your screen for even more juicy celebrity chaos, betrayals, and stories Hollywood doesn't want you to know. See you in the next one.